Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Come on!
Live from beautiful High Springs, Florida. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Florida. Down here for about 5 days, visiting my son, who is part of this Alachua community. And there's a big festival of the Holy Name. There's a very big devotee Bhakti community in northern Florida, about an hour west of Gainesville. And it's like
It's not that far from Gainesville, an hour?
Oh no, it's from Jacksonville. I meant asked for a tissue. He brought me a piece of sandpaper. What are you trying to make me like tear my nose off?
What was I saying that you're a diva? You're a diva. This tissue is not good. Get me another tissue. Go buy a whole new brand.
There's levels of tissue. It's like levels of sandpaper. There's fine, refined sandpaper.
And you will
there's
only
the real rough
use
stuff,
the softest,
like paint stripper. I
Because
only
you
use
have
Charmin.
You have a very tender nose, Raghunath.
I do have a tender nose. And the problem with my nose is it's so big. If I blow it a lot, it gets very red and I look like W.C. Fields.
Okay.
Anyway, how are you, Prabhu?
I'm a little under the weather, to be honest. Just trying to pull it together.
Slightly under the weather. Mara, slightly under the weather. We had, I'm still flying high for Mara's nice family wedding. I'm going to post some pictures.
Okay. Did you have a special outfit that you wore to be like the priest?
Well, I wore a long wedding kurta with chulidars. Those are those big puffy pants at the butt that go from your knee to your ankle, get really tight.
Oh, I've warned you, Raghunath. I love you. You look cool, but you can't pull that one off, I don't think.
Are you kidding? I look so cool in chulidars.
Mara's over there. She's smiling.
Mara, put a picture of chulidars on the message board so people can see what they look like. They're the coolest. I tell you, Indians have it all together.
Yeah, did you? I don't know if you can pull that off, Raghunath.
No, as far as fashion goes, I found my new favorite Indian store in India, Mohan Lal's. Ever heard of them? Mohan Lal's in Delhi. Oh my God, they've got really great vests.
You love a good vest.
I love vests. But anyway, we're down here in Florida. If you're listening to this on Facebook, welcome. This is a study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We do it every day, but on weekends, we change it up a little bit. We do Q&A, so we're going to get a lot of questions and answers. People write in questions, and if you have a question, you could write it into Miss Mara, Wisdom of the Sages 108@gmail.com. She's there holding down the fort at Super Soul Farm. Kastuba's in India, and I'm in Florida, and we're doing the show online. And you can also get it anywhere that you get podcasts and YouTube. Just go to Apple Podcasts, search for Wisdom of the Sages. And you got a lot of binge listening to do because we have 1,201 episodes.
And this is for the Q&A. This is the 200th Q&A episode.
All right. Let's celebrate. All right. So listen, I'm looking, and we also do this on Zoom. So I'm looking at a few of our Zoomers, Yvette, Connor. They're all at the Philly Temple. I'm looking. They're in the temple room. I'm looking at them in the temple room. And
Something's happening this morning.
this is where I spend some good quality brahmachari years there.
But I think it's all changed around since then, Ragnar.
Well, whatever it is, I recognize
I
that
know, that's
floor, I
cool.
recognize
Very
that
cool.
radiator, and I've had fond memories of it.
Yeah. Snuggling up to that thing in the winter. They
Yeah.
had a thing called the freeze way. It was called the breeze way, but everybody called it the freeze way in the Philadelphia temple, right?
Oh yeah, because it was freezing.
Because there's
Back
like no
in the day, the whole thing was freezing because we had no
cold.
money and couldn't afford the heat.
Yeah.
There was one day I wore my entire, ask Parbanand about this. We all wore our sleeping bags to the morning program. It was that cold.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough of that.
Enough.
Let's dive into some Q&A. Miss Mary, you have any announcements before you move forward?
Yeah, we have some Bhakti Recovery Group meetings today at 9:30, 11 a.m., and 12:30 Eastern
right.
time. And also,
coming
there's
up
no
on
show
Monday.
tomorrow.
Oh,
No show tomorrow.
Back at 6 on Monday, correct?
Yep, back to 6 a.m. Monday.
Okay.
And I did post a photo in the Zoom chat board
Oh, what Chulidars look like?
Let me see it.
of you
There's
officiating
a
my
potential
father's wedding.
security issue detected with that file, Mara.
I
There's
hope
a
it wasn't
security-
corrupt.
Oh, wait a second. You put pictures of me wearing the Chulidars? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know if it came through, but
I'm downloading it right now.
That's a good picture.
We're
The
gonna-
only thing I didn't like about this was my socks with the
Okay, right.
sandals, but
Yeah,
otherwise,
Raghunath, you kind of pulled off the pant thing,
yeah.
but yeah, the socks with the sandals. That's
You know what? It
I
was
don't know.
cold.
Okay.
it was very cold.
All right,
you get-
everybody's coming
No,
down.
but
on me
what
for
you're supposed
socks
to
and
wear with those kind of
sandals.
pants is the curly
Elf
pointed
shoes.
shoes.
I'm getting them. I'm getting them.
All right. But
I'm
you didn't
getting
have them for the
At
wedding.
Mohan Laws, I did not.
But
have them.
Papa Tony's looking very dignified.
He's
very
a
stately.
handsome man,
He is.
and then me and he got the party started dancing.
All right. Nice.
All right, so let's get on with our questions because I'm just chat. I'm a blabber.
All right.
All right, let's do
You
it.
start?
Yeah, okay. We're waiting for each other. All right, so the first one is from one of your favorite friends and mine,
Dustin Brudge.
regular Zoomer, never misses a show, practically, I think. Her name is Kylie Brown. We call her the Dust of Brudge. Here's what she says. Dear Prabhuji's and Maraji, I noticed that in my attempts to practice bhakti, there's a tendency to reject, dismiss, and judge my body. Those are
Okay.
good choice of words.
Reject, dismiss, judge. It sounds there's a negative tone to each one of those words, I think. A negative kind of implication.
To dismiss my reject, dismiss, and judge my body, my mind, and my false ego on my quest to fall in love with Sri Radha Krishna and become reacquainted with my true self. I recognize that I'm not the body or the mind, but according to my previous actions, I still have been given one to practice bhakti yoga with. Oh, yeah.
Fair enough.
I'm not suggesting to serve my senses. So, knowing I'm not a self-realized person and understanding that Krishna's mercy plays a big part in purifying my heart, what does it mean to be an authentic person on a bhakti path? I've tried to ask this question before and was told a tiger is authentic. A tiger is authentic and is still an illusion.
I think if I understand that correctly, what it's saying is that authenticity is you can be an authentic anything, but the point is, have you actually cracked through your illusion? I suppose.
Okay. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for your service. This podcast and community is one of the true shelters from the external.
I think you missed one sentence.
Oh, I'm sorry. How can I be an authentic practitioner if I'm still embodied and I work and a work in progress?
Okay.
From the bottom of my heart, thank you for your service. This podcast and community is one of the true shelters from the external and internal floods of illusion. The Dust of Brudge, Kylie Brown. Love her.
Yeah, she's great.
Kostuba, why don't you tackle this
start?
first? Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for this question, Kylie. It's very sincere, very practical. It's a good question, and I want to try to get kind of define how I understand this question. Make sure that I understand it right. seems to me like what Kylie is saying is there's an aspect to yoga, there's an aspect to Vedanta that has to do with separating illusion from truth, right? And that that we're, you know, we accept philosophically that we're moving through in a world of illusion. We accept philosophically that we are not our mind or our body, that these are temporary things, that the body, of course, is made up of cells that are constantly dying and being replaced, and they're shifting and they're changing, and the old cells are, you know, merging into the earth or the water or the or being evaporated into the air, and they're being replaced by new cells. And we're not these bodies. They change many times, even in one lifetime, and we observe them all. So we're not the body, and we're not even the mind. You know, we're not even all the thoughts in the mind, our senses of identification. We identify with a certain with certain thoughts, certain likes and dislikes that we have, or sense of identity that we have. And then we die and we move on, and then we identify with a new body and a new mind and a new sense of identity, and is adopted. And so our whole philosophy, you know, our philosophy is saying you need to break through that. You need to understand you're not that. And so Kylie's like, she wants to practice that, but at the same time, something feels to her disingenuous or something like that by denying her body, denying her connection to the body, to the mind, even to the ego, right? And it's something about that feels difficult or disingenuous. At the same time, she wants to practice for real. She wants to give her whole heart into this practice. And so here's where I'll start, Kylie. If you go back to the Upanishadic understanding of yoga, then really renunciation is kind of put forward as almost the essence of it all, right? Renounce your body, renounce your mind, renounce all your false sense of identification, your false ego. Realize that you are Atman, you are the spirit underneath it all. And once you feel that, then you'll feel the bliss of the self, and you will be free. You'll be liberated, moksha, like that. I'm in place saying quite simply. With bhakti, this has to be real clear, and it's a common misunderstanding that we think that the goal is renunciation. Whoever's the most renounced is the most advanced. In bhakti, it's not like that.
Isn't that good news?
I'm sorry?
Isn't that good news?
I like it. Yeah, and for us, it's not renunciation that's our goal. Renunciation may be helpful in approaching our goal. But our goal is not renunciation. You could say it's dedication, or, you know, it's divine love. And now, so moving on from the Upanishads, you get to the Bhagavad Gita, and something really interesting happens in the Bhagavad Gita that was never so clearly explained until the Gita. And that is that you have Krishna playing the role of guru. You have Arjuna playing the role of yogi, disciple. And Arjuna is in great distress, and he wants to be a yogi. And his inclination is, he's thinking, doesn't it mean renunciation? Doesn't it mean I leave this battlefield? Don't people fight battles to gain wealth, to gain fame and prestige, to gain power? Aren't these all the illusory things that wise people walk away from? And isn't that what I need to do right now in order to be free of my anxiety, free of my fear, free of my, just free in general, free, you know, free of the control of this material energy that we're being so influenced by. Now, Krishna, he doesn't tell him, that's right, Arjuna, you're not a warrior. You are the Atman, the eternal Atman. Leave the battlefield and go meditate on that. Rather, he recognizes Arjuna's body. He recognizes Arjuna's ego, in a sense, his identification as a warrior. And he says, you don't have to drop that. You have to offer it all. You have to offer that all to God. So we get it. Eternally, you may not. I mean, in Arjuna's case, he may eternally be a warrior. But in general, you know, the idea is, You may not be your eternal identity may have nothing to do with your temporary role that you're playing here, but you can embrace that role and offer it. You can offer your body, you can offer your words, you can offer your mind, and you can even offer your false ego. In other words, you can offer your bodily identification if you use it in the service of, for the pleasure of God. And so I think, Kylie, that there's something that feels inauthentic for you to like harp on the idea, I'm not this body, I'm not this mind, I'm not this ego, I'm not these. It feels unnatural to you somehow. It feels forced, and bhakti doesn't have to be forced. Now, in the Bhagavatam, in the second chapter, in the big chapter, right, the second chapter of the first canto, where practically everything, if you really want to understand bhakti yoga, so much is explained there. Sutta Goswami was asked to explain what brings Atma supersidity, what brings complete satisfaction to the self, what brings the highest good to all mankind. And he says it's bhakti. And then the next verse answers the question, well, what about renunciation? What about knowledge, jnana, and vairagya? Knowledge, clear discrimination, and renunciation. And this verse, the next verse comes up real important. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayat Yasu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayata Hoitakam. That by rendering of bhakti, of devotional service, unto Sri Krishna, it says the word used here is ashu, which means very soon. Very soon one acquires knowledge and detachment from the world. It's a way of saying that the detachment, the knowledge and the detachment, the renunciation of the things of this world, even the renunciation of our false conception of who we are, it comes if you practice bhakti, if your mind and your heart become fully dedicated with love for God, then you lose interest of those things in this world very easily. You all those attachments, attachment to body, attachment to mind, and the desires within the mind, and so on, it all starts moving. You take that and you carry it all with you in the direction of Krishna, and you make it all an offering of Krishna, and you become just as detached from the material world as the Jnana Yogi, whose mission is more like to annihilate it, to directly annihilate the false ego, they're doing battle with that. And you're saying, I don't feel comfortable doing that battle entirely. And so in bhakti, it's like, no, you just bring everything for Krishna, and you will causelessly, you will, in a sense, automatically or very easily let go of everything in this world. I'm hoping that that's hitting on the point of your question. And I would like to hear from you, Raghunath Prabhu.
I like that. Here's what I would say. I won't add much to Kastu because it was a pretty thorough answer. But sometimes when, and I've never done this, Mara can contest that I'm not a great dancer. But I've seen pictures where they throw out like silhouettes of feet on the floor and like, put your feet here. And they lay them out and you're supposed to dance. And it's like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And if you do that properly, eventually you're starting to dance.
You're doing the Macarena.
Yeah, you're doing the Macarena. Now, also a similar ideas with training wheels of a bike. I remember when I first was a little kid, I had training wheels, and the training wheels, without me realizing it, had flipped upwards. And I didn't realize I was riding the bike and not realizing the training wheels were off. And then my mother said, "Oh, the training wheels." And I looked down and I realized, well, I can't ride the bike. And I just crashed the bike. I was riding it. So sadhana bhakti is so powerful. Sadhana bhakti means, Vaidhi sadhana bhakti means the guru has given instructions. Do these instructions. You may not understand all of them, but you can understand a few of them. And if you have a little bit of faith, take a small step forward. And in that small step forward, you'll get some deeper realization. Some questions will come up. You'll add more. It'll start to wonderfully consume you. and become a part of you. You get a higher taste for it. And eventually you're riding the bike and you don't even realize it. So the practice is sort of it becomes self-manifest in your life without even externally trying. I think it's good to ask these questions, but we know Kylie because she's been with us, probably from the beginning of the podcast, and she's been to India with us and Italy with us and stuff like that. And we know her sincerity and we know her depth in her spiritual pursuits. All this stuff becomes very, very natural. And instead of like hiding your persona, I won't call it ego. It's like a persona. Just like for me, everybody knows Raghunath's got a big mouth. I get it. That's okay. Now, for me to be spiritual, that doesn't mean I walk around and talk quietly. I've seen people actually change their persona to be for the spiritual persona. Namaste, Mara. How are you? You know what I mean? It's just like it's fake. It's pretentious, and all it takes is like one trip to India, then you come back. Oh, and you become like the Buddha all of a sudden. No, you can't. It's gonna come out like Kylie, but it will be a refined Kylie. So I'm still allowed sort of big mouth, but what I find is that over the years, just it's a better version of my big mouth. It's not like I have to get rid of my voice. The voice is still there. I'm a very loud, dominant, sort of commanding person, but that used in Maya is disgusting. That used in service of Krishna is a good thing. It can be a wonderful thing. So whatever you got, don't hide it. Don't bury it. That's true. You'll be using it for Krishna service. So in her case, she's a very talented singer. She's a very talented actress. She's a very talented spokesperson. Those are beautiful things you can use in Maya, or beautiful things you can use in service of truth and love and light, right? How many people have used their beauty for illusion? They've used their beauty for manipulating other people, controlling people, or their voice, or their charisma. Charisma is like how you ruin other people's lives. Or you use all those things, your charisma, your charm, your beauty, your voice, your communication ability, to liberate people, to enlighten people. So everything is sort of like a double-edged sword. You can use everything you got, all these gifts, use them for God. They came from God, use them for God. And you don't have to bury them. We're not trying to eliminate the ego or eliminate it. We're trying to engage it in a purifying way. And after a while, we're going to start riding that bike like it's no big deal. At first, it's a little awkward and weird. And that's when we start doing these practices we're not used to. But I can say that the first baby step is everybody who listens to this podcast should do a month experiment of sitting down in one place and chanting the holy name one time around on malas, and just hearing the holy name and calling out in sincerity, like you're calling God into your life.
That takes a whole month?
It takes your whole life. It takes lifetimes. Are you kidding? But I'm saying, you try it for a month.
Once per day.
Yeah, once a day. Yeah, yes, that's what I meant to say. It's your whole life.
Trying real slow there, right?
Yeah, I'm trying real slow. And of course, then we add these things to make it more effective. Like I've outlined the 6 pillars of bhakti. We don't offend. We don't criticize. We're tolerant. We take no offense. We're quick to apologize. All those things, when you add them to your practice of chanting, Chaitanya taught that the chanting becomes much more effective. Like if I'm going around and I'm criticizing, I'm being rude, all these things, what they are is they're keeping our car on the road. They're keeping us on that bicycle. They're assisting us like a walking stick to move forward. And the chanting of the holy name becomes more powerful, or I'm open to it. I have a person in my life that I've been trying to, he's a friend, but I've been preaching to him and mentoring in bhakti. He's been into bhakti for like 20 plus years, but he just couldn't follow all the principles. There's some principles out there that are very difficult to follow for some people. We take for granted that it's easy for everybody to be a vegetarian. It's not. We take for granted that it's easy for people to give up alcohol. It's not. So there's certain, like, that for some of us, we're like, well, what's the big deal? It's a huge deal for some people because we have attachments and anchors and they make us feel safe. And we know deep down they don't. So for years, he's just coming into a beautiful, trot where he's been following strictly for 90 days after years. And he said, for years, you would preach to me, you'd tell me these things, I'd read books, and I don't know, it just nothing really, it made sense, but nothing. But now that I'm actually zipping it up, controlling my senses, controlling my mind, not indulging and, flirting online with other, once I just zip it up, then all of a sudden this stuff is becoming really real. Krishna's waiting for us to become more and more sincere. And then when you're sincere, he starts giving you the downloads. And it just happens. So that's part of this whole game too. Krishna wants to see, is this person serious? If they're serious, right? If you're serious, you step it up. Sometimes we're just not serious. So as we get more and more serious, and Krishna is like that. He's so clever. He baits us. You want to come closer? Want to come closer? And then as we get closer, he starts pouring more on us. But sometimes he pulls way back to see if you're still serious. What?
This is all great, but we've drifted far from the question, and we've got quite a few left.
Okay.
But thank you. I didn't want to cut you off. But
that's okay.
I thought you might.
Mara, did you see what he did? He waited till you got in the other room, then he cut me off.
Respectfully.
You're working with him, Mara. You're like, okay, I'm going to go in the other room. You cut him off.
We had a symbol. Yeah, if I get up and walk away, cut him off.
You have a symbol. You have a signal to each other, don't you? Okay, go on.
All right.
Next question. Next question. This is, it's from Sherry Yannick.
Oceanside, California, via Brooklyn, New York.
Is she bi-coastal? That's what's going on?
Well, she used to be in Brooklyn.
Yeah. Hello. I'd love a little advice on raising devotee child. My 5-year-old daughter has been attending classes, lectures, and kirtans since she was in my womb. That's great, right? They have no chance. They can't rebel. They're in the womb. Though for some of them, you didn't know I was pregnant at the time.
You didn't read the whole thing.
What's that?
Including some classes taught by Kastuba, though.
Oh, including.
It wouldn't have made sense.
Okay, including some classes taught by Kastuba, though for some of them, you didn't know I was pregnant at the time. Okay. She took her first steps at the Bhakti Center, adores her copy of the Bhagavad Gita. It is very cool. In a way, she adores her copy of the Bhagavad Gita in a way she doesn't with any other book. She loves offering flowers to Krishna, will chant with me, loves singing along to the Madhava's rock band. She says she wants a sari.
This sounds like you could be your best friend.
This child.
5-year-old.
She says she wants a sari and wears bindis. As my husband has been busier than I during her life, he works long hours and went to graduate school. If I wanted to do things like go to the temple or go to a festival, I simply took her along. She accepts Bhakti as the norm. That's beautiful. It is norm. It is the normal.
Yeah, it should be, right?
There's a new normal. Since we moved from New York, we haven't connected with the temple community in the same way. We have a neighbor who is a Prabhupada disciple, and he is a great influence on her and me. But we miss the formal association of going to the temple on a regular basis. She does love attending my sage group with me, but what else can I do? She asked me questions. Did Krishna die, Mama? Are there stories I can tell her? Children's audio books or movies? Books to read out loud to her? Any other ideas? Also, I remembered this as I was typing it. When I first began going to community groups and classes with Kastuba at the Bhakti Center, I thought about how lovely your voice was and thought to myself, Kastuba should do a radio show. Here you are.
Maybe that was the origin.
That's from Sherry Yannick. It's Sherry Yannick's sincere desire.
She thought that in front of Shishi Radha Murlidhar, and somehow it happened. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry.
I think, Raghunath, you're going to have more to share on this, but I'll say this. You have found a way to make bhakti exciting and fun for your kids. And I see how their attraction to it is spontaneous. It's not like it's forced there. And now when I see someone like Rocco, who's, what is he now, 17?
He's going to be 17 in February, my son. Yeah.
So, like I see him not only not rejecting it, but like actively wanting to participate in it. And I see that with all your kids. But it's impressive to see it at that age when,
Oh my God, it is.
kids want to, rebel, or, they finally have the freedom to go out and start doing all kinds of stuff. So if they're at that age and they're getting into it, that's really something. I was thinking a favorite of yours is the comic books, but you probably have a lot to share on this one.
Well, I can really relate because I never raised my kids near a temple either. When they were very little at the Bhakti Center, and some my older stepkids when we were at the LA temple. But for the most part, most of my kids been away from a center. And centers are lively and fun, etc. So regularly, I did what you do. We play music, we read books together, we tell stories, we learn songs. When they get a little older, we quiz them and we teach them, Sanskrit shlokas. Then I started taking them to India on a regular basis. So the new normal, the idea of worshiping a deity and bowing down and going to the temple and bathing in the Ganges, that became very normal for them.
Well, let's take note of that, although it may not be easy, but a visit to India can be a life changer even for a child, right?
For sure. Yeah, my son Tarun, he's been there every year since for his first 6 years of his life, and he's going to go back next year with me. But he fondly remembers it. My kids, that's how they got attached to it. But the biggest way is, and I see this, is having friends that are devotees, because kids are social beings and they want to. So no matter how much they like their parents, they're going to want to start hanging out with their friends. And the people that they keep association with, they become like. So you need to find some good devotees who have kids your age, and you got to let them all hang together. And that's got to be their posse. And I know both my daughter and my son were part of summer camps, bus tours, and they did that for a few years each. And they developed a whole posse of friends.
Cool friends, talented friends.
Cool,
fun
talented, fun. And like I said, it was hard for me this year. My son's 16 and I love him and he's fun and he's a nice kid. He still likes me. Sometimes 16-year-olds don't like it. He's very sweet and affectionate. But he was going to a regular public school in Western Massachusetts with no association. And so after coming down last year for the festival here, one of the sweet families was like, well, maybe he should just come down to school here, because I was worried about the kids he was going to hang out with at this school.
They had like a little, they had a nice room for him in their home and everything.
They have a nice little place for him to stay. And not only that, it's the big point I'm trying to push here is his most connected friends back home. He had like 2 or 3 of them, and they were nice kids. But I was like, well, do you have that many? How many friends do you have in Alachua? Because we started listing the pros and the cons. And he goes, oh, I've got like 10. I've got 10 who I could call my best friends. So there's such a big community of kids here. So you need to find within your community in San Diego. I know there's a big community.
Where do you know where Oceanside is? Really?
It's not near San Diego.
Okay.
But here's the deal. Oceanside's beautiful. California's beautiful. Upstate New York's beautiful. Wherever it is beautiful in this world. There's so many beautiful places. We're not interested in beautiful. We are interested in where the devotees live. I want to be around them. That when we start getting spiritual callings, we want to be around devotees. We want that company. We want to be near a temple, or we want to start a temple. We want to make our house a regular place where devotees come. We have to either create our house to be a temple or an ashram, or we have to go to a temple, because we understand that the company we keep really affects us in a deep way. Otherwise, the only company we have is our partner and the newspaper or the, or CNN or Fox or whatever people are consuming. That's company. You watch the news, that's company you're keeping. You know what I mean? So we want to keep that vibe high, especially as I get older, or especially as I'm raising kids. And so I couldn't, in my situation, move down here, but I tried to keep my kids going to India on a regular basis. And I tried to, we live at the farm, so we have a lot of programs at the farm. But it's a very important thing. And I'm glad you're thinking about these things, because 5 is just a moment away from 15. And so you have to think like this, that they need friends. That's how they really connect. All the other stuff, Little Krishna, the Ramayan cartoon, all that stuff is great. It'll be forgotten immediately once they become teenagers, unless they have high class, nice devotee friends. And still, raising kids isn't rolling the dice. All we can do is try our best, give them good company, give them the opportunity and the tools and the community, and then they have to ultimately do with whatever they want.
I think that was important info you shared, Raghu.
Thank you.
You're reading the chat board.
Yeah, I'm reading the chat board. She's writing, I've been to Laguna in San Diego. Unfortunately, it was a lot easier to go to the Bhakti Center than to deal with California traffic. I know. Anyway, maybe you're going to have to go to one of those temples and start a daycare like once a week.
Yeah, and I guess Long Beach is still further, but I think if you start thinking of going to those communities, whether it's San Diego, whether it's Long Beach, whether it's Laguna, not just as an opportunity for you to practice yourself, but you're thinking about the long-term benefit for your child, then you'll find that it's worth it for me to go and make these connections, even if it's a little far away, or whatever. But you can start to think about, you'll meet nice people, and nice people that have kids the age of your child, and those Krishna will naturally kind of start hooking you up. But if you don't pursue it, it won't happen.
Yeah, he starts to empower. If you say, you know what, there's no place for my kid, but if you go, I'm going to create a place for my kid, and it's going to attract other kids. And now Bhakti is so wide, and it's not like a weird little niche thing anymore. It's very wide. I know people who are yoga students who would like to come, who have kids that would want to come to something like that. That's wholesome. And then you read with them. Don't make it very accessible to people. People will come, and Krishna will empower you, and you'll be forced to learn the stories so you can tell the stories. That was one thing when I first got married. It was like I was going through 3 years of being completely sort of in Maya, and I wanted to get out of Maya again. And so when I met my ex-wife, and she was very interested in becoming a devotee, and she had 2 little kids, and I didn't know how to raise kids, but I did know the Mahabharata. And therefore I felt, okay, how am I going to raise these kids? I'm going to teach them the Mahabharata. So I started reading with them on a regular basis. And that's Krishna starts to use your daughter to empower you in your own spiritual life. These kids will make us grow spiritually in such a big way. And you can change the rest of these kids, you can change their lives in such a positive way. Sherry.
Nice.
Okay. I hope that was okay.
We may have time for one more.
What?
We don't need that.
You know what that is?
What's going on? Why are you doing that? You could
Hot
read
butter
the next
popcorn. Awesome Yvette. This is from Awesome Yvette. She's a regular Zoomer, a Savite at Super Soul Farm, lives in upstate New York. We love her. Hare Krishna, Mara, Raghunath, and Kaustubha. There was some discussion in my last Sage group, and I wanted to get your thoughts and opinions. The discussion was on a clicker counter versus tulsi beads for counting japa. Is one method better than the other? Is it more appropriate to use a clicker in certain times, like driving? Thank you so much for taking the time to share your thoughts and opinions. Clickers, Kaustubha. Do you use clickers?
Never once in my entire life have I
Have you
used
used a clicker? All right.
Have you?
Oh yeah, I clicked. I'm over it though. I don't like clickers. I've clicked. I don't like clickers personally. I like chanting on beads. Although I will say, chanting on beads can cause, if you're driving stick, chanting on beads can be a problem. I might have been in a few car accidents with japa beads, especially I use big beads. Sometimes they get caught in knots. But I don't like clickers necessarily, but I don't think there's anything evil about them. That's just my, just what I like. It's just a preference. There's something beautiful about holding wooden beads and keeping japa like meditation where you're sitting there chanting. But I get it. I wouldn't, I'm not going to, if a person's chanting japa on a clicker, I'm not going to tackle them, encourage them. You're chanting the whole, it's a means to keep count.
But
That's
well,
all.
that's one. It is what's a means to keep count. That's all.
The beads are means
Are
to
they?
keep count.
That's all.
I'm sure they have a lot of more subtle reasons as well. But
Okay.
but basically, when we chant, why are we chanting? There are means to keep an accountability of what you're doing.
I see a clicker as a means to count, and that's all. But I see a set of tulsi japa beads as something more than that.
But you got to look deeper in the clicker.
I don't think so. I think you got to look deeper into the japa.
I think you're being very superficial right now.
I don't think so. You know, it's more than a counter. It's a meditational aid.
Yeah, so are clickers.
No, they're not.
It is a meditational aid. If you're using it to chant the holy name, you're spiritualizing the clicker.
I don't know. My point is, I don't think they help you meditate. I think they help you count your meditation. But beads, I see as something different. You know, one is that they are made of a wood that's very sacred to us.
Mm-hmm.
So on, you know, I believe we would argue that on a what do you want to call it, metaphysical, mystical, spiritual level, that there's a difference. But not only that, that holding the bead, and in a sense, you could say it's something like you're placing a mantra on each bead as you go, you know. No, Raghunath, no, that click is not the same.
I put a mantra on my thumb. I push it down into my heart.
I'll share something. I feel, and you know, you were mentioning something about your friend that you shared some things with, and he's just at a point in his life where he's made a deeper commitment, and sometimes maybe we just can't push things. Sometimes we kind of move at a certain pace, and certain things rise in us at a certain pace. But I do feel like in my life, and I think both you and I are both going through this, I do feel a rising, I just feel a little bit of taste for chanting arising in me, and in a natural way. But I do feel like, boy, how many years have I wasted not being serious enough about this? You know, not really chanting that mantra with attention, without really hearing it, without opening myself up to it. And you know, when Raghunath and I finally get our act together and start doing, like, you know, get this online academy going and all that, I think we can get more into some of these topics about, like, what it means to chant japa, and the different levels of chanting japa. Like, there's a level called nam aparad, right, where you're inattentive and you're chanting. When it's mentioned, like, you know, using a clicker at times like driving, I just think it's great that you chant while you're driving. But when it comes to chanting japa, I want to sit and be very concentrated. I want to honor that name with real, sincere concentration. And I think that the beads are one part of doing that. You know, honoring each name with, you know, a beautiful bead of tulsi wood. And in a sense, we're trying to have that mind very clear. And we want each and every single mantra to ring out in the mind very clearly, hear it in the ears and let it ring in the mind. And the externals that we adopt will become important for that. Where we are, how we're sitting, our posture, the time of day, all these things can become real important in that. And it'll become, I appreciate devotees that just chant because they vow to, or because they know it's the right thing to do. And really that's where I've been my entire life. But I really I feel the deeper need in my life to take it to at least the level of Namabas, right? At least where I'm really endeavoring to hear that name and hearing it more, and that the times where I'm concentrated extend, more and more. And I think the externals to that are important. So, I'm not saying a clicker is the end of the world, and if someone's using it and it's helpful for them, great. But I do see chanting on bees this is our tradition. It may not be essential to our tradition, but it's part of our tradition for a reason. That we chant on tulsi bees, that tulsi bees are handed from the guru to the disciple at the time of initiation, that we hold them in our fingers when we chant, that all the great previous acharyas in our lineage have done so. I think there's something to that. So that was you're asking my opinion, so I'm giving it. But I hope that's
good answer. Good answer.
Thank you. We all got to get better at this chanting. We all got to inspire one another. We got to, this is our method. That this mantra will reveal everything to us. Let's always keep that in the forefront of our mind, and let's share that with each other when we come together to chant in kirtan. Let's encourage each other also to chant japa attentively. Let's try to set the example for each other and encourage each other.
We're in these winding down days of these 4 holy months right now. From Thanksgiving,
2 days left.
Yeah, you got 2 days left, and they're very, very powerful days. They say these last 4 days are the most powerful days. Great time to say, you know what, I am maybe start your chanting, or say, you know what, I am chanting, but for these next couple of days, I'm really gonna make it precious. Treat it like it's precious. It is. I'm going through a whole japa reform myself.
Is a good word. Precious is a good word.
Precious. You like that?
Precious.
You keep that. You like it. You keep it. You use it too now. Say you got it for me.
Precious. Raghunath. Everybody try to keep it precious, Raghunath.
I'm going through a whole japa reform myself. It was just like I just got fed up with the way I was chanting japa.
Got to get fed up.
What?
You got to get fed up.
You got to hit a rock bottom. I was in my rock bottom of chanting. I was like,
I know you know what? Rock bottom. You got to get fed up.
I was chanting my rounds. They just weren't that good. And I was just like, you know what? All this stuff is built from chanting the holy name. All of this stuff, everything we're doing, all the places we did, prashad, everything is coming from chanting the holy name. And as I get older, I want to be more attached to the holy name. So I just said, you know what? From now on, I'm just sitting down and I'm chanting. And I'm not going to move from my seat for the most part. I'm not going to move from my seat until they're all done. And I'm going to treat it like I'm meditating, not like I'm blah, 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 blah.
That's
like
right.
I'm actually meditating. Like if they were to hook up brain scans to my head, it should be like, oh, look at this guy. He's in a trance. I want it to be like that. I want it to be like I'm actually doing something physiologically, spiritually, emotionally better for myself. And it's going to only come from serious concentration and deep heartfelt prayer and hearing and keeping my mind on the same track as my words. Otherwise, you can be chanting the words and your mind can be, right? Get back here, dog. Get back on the leash. Keeping my mind on a leash.
There you go.
That's what I'm talking about.
Prabhupada said, a lot of times people would ask Srila Prabhupada, what should I think of when I'm chanting? And he would say, just hear the mantra.
It's so simple yet so difficult, huh?
It's so simple, but it is simple. And when I'm really I try to chant from right here in this part of my body, right from the heart. Like the sound is it's just coming from here, right? And excuse me. And I just try to vibrate that name clearly and allow it to go into my ears and into my mind. And you know what? Don't think of it like it's some battle that we're in. Think of it as the most satisfying, relaxing, beautiful part of the day. Now I can set everything else aside and sit here and just absorb myself in the beautiful, unlimited, Maha Mantra. What a wow! This is the best possible way I can spend my time, and right now I've got the time to do it. This is great. Don't think like, okay, I got to do this now. Oh, I got to fit it in.
Nope.
No, start to cherish that time because it's precious. Raghunath.
Precious by Raghunath.
By Raghunath. That's it.
The new perfume by Raghunath.
Precious.
Precious. The scent that makes you focus. Hi, I'm Raghunath for Precious.
Click.
Precious. Who were the
Who had that
perfume
song?
commercials?
Were you into Dexy's Midnight Runners, the first record?
I was about to talk about perfume commercials, and you bring up Dexy and the Midnight Runners. I was about to talk about Charlie.
It's not Dexy and the Midnight Runners. It's Dexy's Midnight Runners. Charlie?
Son of a little Charlie, kind of wild Charlie.
All right, you waited to the very end.
Oh, Krishna. What was that other one? I can take it. Because I'm a woman. WOMAN. Oh, Krishna. My whole brain is programmed with commercials. I'm chanting the holy name just to forget about them. Please help me.
It was
Please help me.
Dexy's. Let's make Dexy's
Danny
Midnight Runners.
Kozakowski gets it. It's all 70s commercials. They're drilled into my DNA.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
gonna
trying
come
to
out-
drill them into
I'm gonna-
our DNA. We don't
I'm
want
gonna-
them.
I'm going to take
We
birth
don't want them.
again.
We reject them, Raghunath.
I'm going
Stop.
to take birth again
Listen.
singing commercials from the 70s. That's how you're going to know it's me. Everybody listen. We got 2 days. Really, let's focus on the holy name. What do you
Let's
say
make
about
this
that?
precious.
Now, tomorrow there's no show. I'm going to see you Monday.
All right.
6 a.m.
Good to see you Monday.
See you Monday. 6 a.m.
When do you come back?
I come back Wednesday. Right.